Orgreave, a new inquiry likely after allegations of police violence and then a cover-up. Hillsborough, South Yorkshire police responsible for 96 unlawful deaths. Rotherham, police heavily criticised for failures over child sex abuse.
The police just feel that they're under constant battering. It's almost as if they can't get out from under any of these things.
So whose fault's that then, say many? South Yorkshire Police notoriously said sorry for Hillsborough in 2012.
Apologised profoundly for the mistakes that led to those 96 deaths.
But they stand accused of lying at the Hillsborough inquests in 2014.
It was seen by the public, both nationally and here in South Yorkshire, as somehow hypocritical now. So we have to be very clear about that apologies for things that have been done wrong in the past mistakes, they have to be full-hearted and sincerely meant. They have to really believe them.
Critically, Alan Billings said he became Commissioner too late in a sense. The inquests for Hillsborough were already underway. He could do nothing, he could say nothing to stop the process.
The conduct of the legal teams had already been set in motion long before I came in. Now the coroner made it very clear several times during the course of the inquest that anybody who then commented on that would be interfering with the process, with the hearings. So I couldn't make any kind of public pronouncements at all. That would have been held as a contempt of the hearings.
With the police inquest strategy already in place under the previous Commissioner Sean Wright, who resigned over the Rotherham sex scandal, Alan Billings said he found himself frustrated, angry, but gagged. He says he could only finally act when the inquest verdicts were arrived at by suspending the Chief Constable who'd worked with Sean Wright on it all, David Crompton. It caused huge public expense, £25 million of taxpayers' money, and unnecessary and finally pointless anguish for the families and survivors of Hillsborough.
Now is the time to just put your hands up as Police Commissioner and say, I'm sorry, we got that wrong.
Well, the police service, the barristers and so on, yes, I think they did get that wrong, and that's why I suspended a Chief Constable. But it's not my job.
You're passing this along the line. I'm asking you. A lot of people want to hear you say, I'm sorry, we got that wrong.
Well, it's the we is not me. The we is the police force who got that wrong, in my view. I'm deeply sorry that they got that wrong, and I'm sorry for the families that they've had to have 27 years. But you're misunderstanding the role of the Police and Crime Commissioner if you start to cast me in the role of Chief Constable. I'm not the Chief Constable. I don't run the police force.
For Alan Billings and many others, a police force accused of lying on the day of Hillsborough and for 27 years after exposes something rotten.
I think there's a bigger issue about police culture. One of the things
But I'm not asking about a bigger issue. I'm asking, what does that say about the culture of South Yorkshire Police?
There is something about hierarchical organisations, the way they behave, the way they conduct themselves. There is something about these organisations when they're under pressure, when they feel threatened, they do tend to go inwards in that way and become very defensive. That's the culture we've got to change.
After Hillsborough, the Commissioner says a new inquiry into South Yorkshire policing at Orgreave 5 years before during the miners' strike is now inevitable. He told us he thinks the Home Secretary will announce it within the next month.
That was the nearest we came to a politicised police force. I mean, people sometimes have talked about police and crime commissioners and politics, but actually it was that period in the 1980s under the Thatcher government that I think the police were dangerously close to being used as an instrument of the state.
So in Sheffield and beyond, South Yorkshire Police now face criminal investigations into Hillsborough and a likely reopening of Orgreave in search of what the force has proved so pitiful down the years at providing to those it serves: the truth. Alex Thomson, Channel 4 News, Sheffield.